Yeah, so I'm starting this over because my original recording just got messed up. I got thrown off by the washing machine, then my phone just kind of, it kicked me out, booted me to my screensaver, and then the recording stopped. But I'm back, so I'm here to announce or talk about in this video UFC Manchester, which just got announced yesterday. I got to remember to call it Manchester because a lot of these cards that go to England, it's usually in London, so I'm used to saying UFC London. Glad I didn't make that error in this video, which if I did the video yesterday, I probably would have made that mistake. But UFC Manchester, I don't think the UFC's been to Manchester since 2016, which was UFC 204, now UFC 304. They're back in Manchester. And last time they were at Manchester, they also accommodated the North American audience. So the people in the UK had to attend the arena at 3 a.m. in the morning and stay there till 7 a.m. So I feel bad for the people in Manchester, man, because I mean, we're lucky. They're not. They got to stay up extra late for this card. Sucks to be them. It's going to mess with their sleeping schedule. Even the fighters, I'm sure it's going to be tough. But they're doing this for the U.S. audience, the North American, the Canadian audience. So it is what it is. But this is a hell of a card, a stacked card. It's my birthday card. I'm turning 24 3 days before this card. Great card, stacked from top to bottom. I don't know about the prelims, but the main card is where it's at. They didn't really announce much of the prelims yet, but you got Muhammad Mokaev versus Manal Kape, which won't happen because, of course, every single Manal Kape fight has to get canceled. Arnold Allen versus Giga Chikadze. That's another pullout merchant. Paddy Pimblett. I botched the Brazilian pronunciation for that. I'm not going to retry that, revisit that. But Paddy Pimblett versus Bobby Green. I wish it was Paddy versus Moicano. That fight interests me more. And then the rematch between Tom Aspinall and Curtis Razor Blaydes. Leon Edwards versus Belal Muhammad too. So Belal Muhammad finally is getting his title shot. There was a lot of doubt surrounding whether this guy was going to fight for the belt or not. I mean, honestly, I didn't doubt it for a second. It was only a matter of time. The reason why he didn't get the title shot at UFC 296 and Colby did is because Colby Covington has a bit more notoriety, a bit more name value. He's a bit more popular, more polarized. I mean, he did the UFC a service by showing up to London as a backup fighter and making noise, doing a bit of a press tour in London. So because of that, the UFC picked him, and he's got history with Kamaru Usman and sort of being the second best to Usman when Usman was champion. So it was a legacy fight. It was a legacy fight for Leon Edwards, so that's why the fight kind of had to happen. I mean, it didn't really need to happen. Colby should have been active between the Masvidal fight and before the Leon fight, but it is what it is. The fight happened, it's done with, but I just knew that Belal being the number 2 contender, technically the number 1 guy, I knew the UFC wasn't going to go with Shavkat Rakhmonov. Shavkat hasn't earned it yet. He needs to do one more fight, and I think him and Jack Della Maddalena is probably going to be the next one, most likely. The winner of that will fight the winner of this fight. I'm looking forward to it, man. It's been a long time coming. They arguably should have ran it back immediately after the first fight, but Leon wanted to move on. He wanted a title shot. But the UFC's we're not giving you a title shot, but we will give you Nate Diaz coming off a no contest. So, of course, anyone in their right mind is going to go with the money fight in Nate Diaz as opposed to Belal Muhammad, right? So he was smart for taking the fight with Nate Diaz. That earned him the shot at the title against Kamaru Usman. But it's funny, Belal Muhammad is kind of in a similar situation as Edwards was before Leon fought for the belt and became champion. Before Leon fought for the belt, he was kind of in that position where he had to go the extra mile to fight for the title. He was kept waiting. He had to wait a year to fight for the belt. And now Belal Muhammad, same thing, 10-fight win streak. He had to go through several top guys, a killer's row. Honestly, Belal had a harder road to the title and a better road to the title than Leon. I mean, he had to go through pre-brain bleed Luque, Gilbert Burns back-to-back, and Sean Brady. That win aged well. Damian Maia, Stephen Wonderboy Thompson. This guy, Leon, on the way to the title, only beat a bunch of bums and then Nate Diaz and didn't beat Belal. It was a no contest. But, to be fair, when he became the champion, he proved himself to be one of the best or the best guy in the world in the division. As far as like this matchup, like who will win? I think Leon Edwards is going to win this fight. I think he's going to win. I see a lot of people going for Belal Muhammad because of his pace and his wrestling, and Leon's kind of a low output striker, and he had a very boring fight against Colby. I get it, but I just think Leon is better than Belal Muhammad, and Belal is kind of no different from Leon's last two opponents, other than maybe being in his prime in comparison to Colby and then Usman in that third fight. Leon Edwards has had 3 training camps back-to-back, 2 for the same guy, 1 for Colby, right? Usman twice, Colby. 2 boxer wrestlers with striking not on the level of Leon. So he's had 3 camps for wrestlers. Belal Muhammad is a wrestler, but I don't think that Leon Edwards is going to have a problem dealing with Muhammad's wrestling. I don't think Belal is as good of a wrestler as Colby. Even though Colby barely tried to wrestle, maybe his foot was broken, even though Usman was deterred in that third fight, I don't think his wrestling is as good as Usman's even now. So I think Leon will be able to defend the takedowns of Belal. He's got good takedown defense. If he gets taken down, he'll just get right back up. He has good cardio. Now, Belal does have good pressure, but Leon Edwards is just so much better than him on the feet. It doesn't matter how much output Muhammad has. Leon Edwards is more accurate with his striking, a lot sharper, better with his kicks, better with his punches. I just think he's going to be 2 steps ahead of Belal whenever they're on the feet. And even if Belal does get a takedown, he will not be able to maintain control to fully dominate the entire fight. It'll only be enough to win him a couple of rounds or so. But I think Leon is going to win via decision 48-47. I think it'll be a good fight. I think Belal will test Leon, but I just think Leon is just going to be too good. I think the guys to beat Edwards in this division will be kind of like that next generation of welterweights, like the Ian Garys. I know you guys aren't gonna want to hear this, but the Ian Garys of the world, the Shavkat Rakhmanovs of the world, Jack Della Maddalenas of the world, those are the guys that I see potentially dethroning Leon Edwards. But the older generation, like Kamaru, like Belal, Colby Covington, those are guys that aren't going to beat Leon Edwards. If he fought Wonderboy, he would beat Wonderboy. Like all those guys, if he fought Burns, he would beat him as well. But the newer gen of killers at welterweight, I think, are going to run the division in the next few years. And Leon's going to lose to one of the newer big 3 guys between Gary, between Shavkat, between Jack Della. But I just don't think Belal will be the one. He's tough. He's well-rounded. He's a solid fighter. He is a good fighter. He's not a bum. But I just think Leon Edwards is just the better fighter. He was already winning the first fight before the eye poke no contest. So yeah, that's my thoughts on this rematch. And then Tom Aspinall versus Curtis Razor Blaydes. Man, I'm kind of scared for Tom Aspinall because I think he's better than Blaydes by far. He's better than him. But Curtis Blaydes is a dangerous matchup. I'm not really worried about the wrestling of Blaydes because Blaydes, he couldn't, impose his wrestling on an old Junior Dos Santos. Couldn't take down Sergey Pavlovich when he tried. He was able to take down Jairzinho Rosenstrike, but he wasn't able to really hold him down that long, and Rosenstrike was able to have moments on the feet. And he also couldn't take down the Black Beast when he tried. He barely really pushed for those takedowns. He kind of half-assed them, so that's why he kind of failed them. But still, I'm not worried about the wrestling because Aspinall is a well-rounded fighter, and he's got good grappling, which doesn't always equal good takedown defense, but I assume he's not going to be an easy guy to take down. He's got great footwork as well, but it's just the power of Blaydes. He's long, powerful. He just has good hands, very underrated hands, and there are some openings to catch Tom Aspinall. Aspinall does leave himself open when he is the aggressor. Now, he does have good defense, but when he's going first, that's where he may put himself in danger and at risk. And against a guy like Blaydes, he could get caught. And another thing that scares me about this fight is the Jon Jones curse. It's very real, okay? Every fighter who talks about wanting to fight Jon Jones, being the one to beat Jon Jones, especially when the fans back that talk, is usually when that fighter ends up becoming a hype train, here today, gone tomorrow type of fighter, and they lose, okay? When Rockhold and Weidman came to light heavyweight and we're talking about Jon Jones, they got knocked out. When Corey Anderson was talking about Jon Jones, Jan slept him. When Walker was talking about beating Jon Jones, Corey knocked him out, okay? When Dominic Reyes got quote-unquote robbed by Jon and Jon vacated and the fans said he was scared of Reyes and they called Reyes the real champ, Reyes, that he got jinxed and he got knocked out by Jan Blachowicz. So I'm kind of worried that this is going to set him up to lose twice to Blaydes, even though the first fight wasn't really like a loss because, you know, it was an injury. There was no fight. It was 15 seconds. Neither man really landed anything significant. But still, I mean, Aspinall was fighting reckless in that first fight. I think it's because he knew going in he had a bad knee, so he was trying to rush the fight. But yeah, it could have gone really bad if he didn't blow out his knee because he was leaving himself open. But I do think Aspinall is the better fighter. Like, he's that next level talent in this division. He's like a super heavyweight, super athletic, super skilled, great everywhere, great on the feet, very fast. He can wrestle. His jiu-jitsu's good. His boxing's good. His kickboxing is good. I mean, the way he's able to smoke killers like Volkov and Pavlovich in the first round just shows how good this guy is. Because guys like Sergey and Volkov are tough fighters. Curtis Blaydes struggled with Volkov over 5. Couldn't finish him on the ground. Aspinall could easily. And he got his takedowns easier than Blaydes could. And he smoked Sergey Pavlovich, who knocked out Curtis Blaydes in the first round. I know MMA math isn't everything, but this guy Aspinall is legit. I picked Tom Aspinall to beat Blaydes the first time, and I'm going to pick him to win the second time, you know? And 2024 is the year where fluke injury losses are being avenged. Like, this year we saw O'Malley, Royval, and Ortega rebound from injury losses to that same person and they got revenge. This could be one of those fights, one of those 2024 rematches where we see another injury loss get avenged, but the Jon Jones curse could counteract that. But if the Jon Jones curse doesn't apply, or if Aspinall can just keep his mouth shut while he has the chance about Jon Jones to relieve the curse, then yeah, I don't know. I think he should be able to win. I think he's got better striking than Blaydes. He's faster than him. Blaydes hardly ever shoots when he fights a really good striker or really powerful striker. And I just think the footwork and the speed of Tom is going to make it hard for Blaydes to track him down and find a clear shot for a takedown. And I do think Blaydes will get pieced up. And I do think Aspinall could catch him and knock him out. So I'm going to say Tom does knock out Curtis Blaydes. But I would not be surprised if like if like Tom does take like a learning experience type of loss against Blaydes, where like he takes a loss, a knockout loss, where like he learns, okay, I gotta tighten my defense up. But I do think in this fight, we're going to see a more patient Aspinall. He's not going to be as wild as the first fight. He's going to be very measured and composed and poised. And I think through that, we're going to see that he's a way better striker than Curtis. And I just think, yeah, striking is going to be too much. And I don't think Blaydes' wrestling is really going to shine. But we'll see. It's kind of crazy. Curtis Blaydes is getting his first title shot. That's mad. I mean, every time this dude has had a title eliminator, he's fumbled. I never thought we'd see him in this position fighting for a title. So in 2 months' time, Blaydes could be world champion, interim or not, or undisputed or not. This guy could be wearing a belt. That could be a reality. I'm just saying, but I'm rooting for Tom Aspinall because I like him. He's one of my favorite heavyweights ever, and I want him to keep the interim belt and stay on John Jones's coattails. I want to see that fight happen, Jones and Aspinall, but we'll see. And then as for the rest of the card, Bobby Green, Paddy Pimblett. I think Paddy Pimblett's going to get pieced up in this fight. I wouldn't be surprised if Pimblett did win because, he does have the grappling. And unlike Jim Miller, he'll actually use his grappling and he could take down Bobby Green. But outside of the Islam fight, Green has shown good takedown defense throughout his career. And he's a way better boxer than Paddy. Paddy doesn't have good defense or good cardio. He looked worse against Tony than Bobby did. So I think this is where we see Paddy lose. If Pimblett does beat Green, I think if he fights Moicano, he'll lose to Moicano. Arnold Allen, Giga Chikadze. I don't even know if this fight will happen because Giga's been pulling out a lot lately. But I think Arnold Allen's going to win this fight. I don't think Giga's that good. Like, Arnold Allen is kind of similar to Calvin Kattar, who is able to give Giga Chikadze problems. He's more well-rounded than Giga. He's got good pressure boxing like Calvin Kattar. And he can also grapple. He can mix it up. I think this is a better matchup than his last couple of opponents. I think we're now seeing Arnold Allen start to catch a break. He went from having to fight Max Holloway and then Evloev, who he arguably did beat, but now he kind of gets to get off easy against Chikadze. I think he wins that. And then Muhammad Mokaev, Manal Kopp. The fight's not going to happen. Like, every single Manal Kopp fight that gets booked, his opponent pulls out, or this year he's been pulling out. So he could have fought Mateos Nicolau. He misses weight. They reschedule. He pulls out. Had he made weight the first time the rematch with Nicolau was booked, he would have won and he could have been fighting Pantoja for the belt earlier this month. So I predict this fight's going to get canceled, and yet again, Manal Kopp is going to have another fight out the window, and his title hopes further delayed. But we'll see. Leon Edwards kind of had similar luck, but eventually his fight started going through more often, so hopefully this fight can happen. And if it does happen, I want to say Manal Kopp wins, but Muhammad Mokaev does have that kind of Dagestani plot armor where it's like, there are some of those Dagestani fighters where they should be getting exposed, where you think they're not that good, but they find a way to win every time, whether it's like a fluke or like a close robbery decision. So I can see Mokaev pulling through a close decision in this fight, but Manal Kopp has way better striking, and if his defensive grappling holds up, he should be able to win. Wow, I did a full prediction video on this card. I wasn't even supposed to do that. I was supposed to save it for like July, I'll do another actual prediction video soon. I'll probably go more in depth of all of these fights. But yeah, I'm looking forward to UFC Manchester. Some great fights, good main event. I thought Tom was going to be the main event and Leon would be the co-main, but it makes sense because this is an interim title fight. It's interesting that Aspinall, the interim champ, is having to defend his belt. That doesn't happen often. I mean, Renan Barão had to defend his interim title while waiting for Cruz. The fight didn't happen, so he became the undisputed. Nogueira, for some reason, the interim champ of heavyweight, similar situation. Didn't fight Randy Couture for some reason. Brock Lesnar got the title shot, and they made Nogueira defend against Frank Mir, and Frank got the upset KO. I'm kind of afraid something similar might happen, but we'll see. But let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. Will Belal Muhammad and Curtis Blaydes shock the world, or will Aspinall and Leon hold strong for the UK? Like and subscribe, and peace out.